Kök Tengri split the horizon with a roar of pure blue thunder. The destiny of every soul on the steppe hung upon his silent gaze. History calls him a savage conqueror, but Genghis Khan was merely a servant. High above the Altai peaks, where the wind bites like a frozen blade, the eternal blue sky watched the rise of the celestial Turks. This was the birth of the First Khaganate, a world where the dirt beneath a horse's hoof was as sacred as the stars. Long before the shadow of Temujin swept across the world, Bumin Khagan stood upon the heights of Ötüken, the sacred mountain. He did not seek gold or monuments of stone, for the nomads knew that stone eventually crumbles to dust. Instead, he reached for something invisible, yet this was the divine spark, a vital force of sovereignty bestowed only by the grace of the sky. To possess the cut was to be the living voice of the heavens, yet it was a gift that could be snatched away in a single breath of failure. When the Turks rode across the Eurasian steppe, they did not just carry bows of horn and sinew, they carried the mandate of the eternal blue. Even the mighty Genghis Khan, centuries later, would remember this ancient truth. Before he decimated empires, he would climb the mountain, for even a king of kings is a mere blade of grass compared to the infinite, unblinking eye of the great sky. He began every decree with a phrase that made the world tremble. By the power of the eternal blue sky. It was a reminder that no crown is ever truly earned. It is only lent by the master of the winds. See the vast horizon through the eyes of a nomad, where the line between heaven and earth is blurred by the morning mist. To the ancient Turk, the universe was not a sprawling, accidental void, but a meticulously organized home of three distinct realms, tied together by a single shimmering anchor. This was the Bay Terek, the world tree, a celestial poplar whose silver leaves hummed with the songs of creation. Its roots did not merely seek water, they reached down into the iron-cold depths of the lower world, gripping the very bedrock of the afterlife, where above the soil, its mighty trunk stood as the axis of the middle world, our world, the land of the whistling wind, the rolling. This middle realm was a place of profound movement, guarded by the Yersu, the spirits of earth and water, who dwelled in every jagged mountain peak and hidden spring. But the tree did not stop at the clouds. Its crowning branches pierced the veil of the physical world, stretching upward into the 9 shimmering levels of the upper world. There, bathed in a light that never wavered, the high deities moved with purpose. Great Karakhanid, the progenitor of the gods, looked down from the highest tier, ensuring that the movements of the planets mirrored the migration of the tribes below. In the middle world, where humans struggled against the element, when a mother groaned and the pains of labor inside her felt yurt, the spirit of Umayana would descend. With hair like spun sunlight and a presence that smelled of spring rain, the mother goddess protected the flickering flame of new life, shielding children and lambs alike from the predatory shadows that lurked in the dark. This 3-tiered cosmos was a delicate tapestry, where the survival of the smallest foal was just as critical to the cosmic balance as the rotation of the sun. The ancient Turk knew that to live was to walk a path across the world tree's shadow, respecting the depths below while forever reaching for the brilliance of the eternal blue. To bridge the gap between the mortals in the middle world and the divine silence of the blue, a bridge was needed. This was the Kham, the ritual specialist whom we might call a shaman, but to the people of the steppe, he was the living heartbeat of the tribe. When a soul fell ill or a drought withered the grazing lands, the Kham did not merely offer up a quiet prayer. Clad in heavy skins, mirrors, and iron talismans that rattled like the bones of ancestors, he would strike his drum, a rhythm echoing the foundational heartbeat of the earth, until the physical world dissolved into mist. He became a traveler of the spirit, ascending the silver branches of the Bay Terek to feast with the heavenly spirits, or more perilously, descending into the dark, tangled roots to face the one who waits in the deep. There, in the sunless realms of the lower world, reigns Ötüken Khan. You must understand that in the mind of the ancient Turk, Ötüken was not born of pure malice, but of the tragic sting of pride. He was the brother who reached for too much, the spirit who sought to be a creator instead of a vessel, and for his arrogance, he was cast down to the iron floor of the underworld. Ötüken is the judge of the dead, a stern, formidable figure with a face like weathered cedar and eyes that burn. Everything they believed up to this point was wrong. For the truth was that the Khan did not travel to defeat Ötüken, but to negotiate with him, recognizing that shadow is as necessary to the world as light. Between Kök Tengri's infinite radiance and Ötüken's cold judgment, the human spirit is like a flickering candle caught in a vast howling gale. The Khan was the one who could bargain for that candle, offering the sacred scent of juniper or the life force of a consecrated sacrifice to soothe the Lord of Shadows. It is a struggle as old as the stars, the light that gives life and the darkness that eventually claims it back. This eternal dance between the sky above and the iron below created the very tension that makes a mortal life meaningful, proving that even in the shadow of the underworld, the soul must find its way back to the blue. This was the balance the Khan swore to protect, knowing that to rule the earth, one must first respect the spirits of both the height and the depth. Genghis Khan, the man whose name made the very mountain ranges of Asia tremble, was a master of millions and a conqueror of worlds. He had crushed the collective pride of emperors and ground the ivory towers of ancient civilizations into the red dust of the Gobi. To his terrified enemies, he was the scourge of God, an unstoppable phenomenon of nature that moved. Yet, when the setting sun dipped below the unobstructed horizon of the vast Mongolian steppe, this titan of history did something that would have shocked the gold. He dismounted from his white stallion, the most sacred of colors to the spirits, and slowly removed his belt, the mark of a warrior's dignity. He took off his hat and his heavy furs, baring his weathered neck to the biting wind. Alone on the silence of a high ridge, perhaps on the slopes of the sacred Burkhan Khaldun, he did not bow to a golden idol, nor a mortal priest, nor a scriptured text written by human hands. He bowed to the empty horizon, to the infinite. Temujin knew a soul-deep truth that his subjects often forgot. His power was not an inheritance, nor a result of mere steel. It was a borrowed flame, a flickering spark of Kut, the divine vital force bestowed by the eternal blue sky. He lived in a state of holy terror, understanding that the absolute moment he ceased to serve the balance of the universe, the sky would simply draw a breath, and his entire legacy would. This profound humility was the foundation of his yasa, the iron code of laws that governed his people and his army, often organized in the sacred number of 9. It was the reason why the most powerful man on earth practiced a radical, almost unheard-of religious pluralism. He invited the Nestorian priest, the Taoist monk, and the Muslim scholar to his tent, for he believed that because Tengri was universal and non-dogmatic, all prayers eventually rose to the same sapphire heights. When he began his imperial decrees with the phrase, "By the power of the eternal blue sky," it was not a political boast. It was a servant's acknowledgement. Genghis Khan was a conqueror of nations, but in the presence of the Great Blue, he was merely a nomad child of the steppe, trembling before the only authority that could give, and just as easily take away, the world. The empires of the horse lords eventually faded into the twilight of history, their thunderous hooves silenced by the slow march of time. The great Khans were eventually buried in secret valleys, their names becoming the stuff of legend. But the eternal blue sky does not possess a memory that can be erased by though the political power of the steppe dwellers waned, the spirit of the blue remained carved into the very bones of the earth. On the wind-swept banks of the Orkhon River in modern-day Mongolia, the funerary steles of Kök Tengri and Bumin Khagan, their ancient Turkic runes, shaped by the wisdom of the supreme strategist Ötüken, continue to tell the story of a people who believed their very existence was a gift from the heavens. These stones are more than mere graves. They are the physical manifestation of a cultural soul that refuses to be forgotten, marking the spot where the mandate of Kut was first written in the language of men. As the centuries turned, the great religious tides of the world began to wash over the steppe. The Volga Bulgars and the Karakhanid Khaganate turned their faces toward new horizons, embracing the faith of Islam in a series of mass conversions that forever altered the map of Central Asia. Yet, even as mosques and minarets rose where the sacred stone cairns once stood, the old ways did not truly vanish. They blended into the fabric of daily life, creating a unique tradition where the memory of Tengri existed in a complex harmony with new creeds. The sky god was simply too vast to be confined to a single book or a single temple. Even today, the linguistic ghost of the ancient world persists. In the modern Turkish language, the word for God is still Tanrı, a direct descendant of the name that once made Genghis Khan. Across the vast, unobstructed plains of Kazakhstan and the rugged sacred peaks of the Altai Republic, a modern generation, seeking a connection to a land that was once their only temple, has begun to look upward once more. This revival of Neo-Tengrism is not just a study of history, it is a reclaiming of an indigenous identity that celebrates the sacredness of the natural world. When a shepherd in Kyrgyzstan ties a blue silk prayer cloth to a birch branch, or a city dweller looks with pride at the sun-drenched symbols on their national flag, they are participating in a ritual that stretches back to the Xiongnu and the Gök Turks. They are acknowledging that the Bay Terek, the great world tree, still the eternal lesson of Tengri is a reminder that we are but small travelers under an infinite canopy. It teaches us that true power is not found in the conquest of land or the accumulation of wealth, but in the balance we maintain with the world around us. In our modern lives of steel and asphalt, we often forget to look at the horizon, yet the great blue remains, patient and unblinking, waiting for us to remember our place in the middle world. We are the children of the earth and the sky, and our story is far from over. The ancient stories still speak to us, echoing through the centuries to remind us of the divine. Subscribe to hear more legends from the dawn of civilization. Tell us in the comments.